Okay guys, back at it. Alright, this video I'm going to give a shout out to Mr. James Condon. If any of you guys are looking for videos on how to repair generators, look at James Condon. You look at me too, I got a couple of them, but James, I call him Mr. Generator. He was on my live stream last night, had some great Q&A about generators in general, and so I want to dedicate this one to him. He actually did one on this type of generator a number of months ago, and showed me a few things about it that I didn't know before. So James, thank you for that, and hopefully you guys can chime into his channel, James Condon, and check out all his generator and other small engine videos. Okay, this PowerMate generator ProGen 5000 won't run on its own. Squirt gas in it, it'll run. Excuse me. So it needs a carb clean. And one thing that James pointed out to me, and I got from his video, let's see, is you have these 3 screws, 1, 2, 3. Those 3 screws hold the governor plate and onto the mount where the carburetor comes out. So you have to take these 3 screws off. So I just want to thank James for that. If you didn't take the gas tank off and you just thought the carb would come straight out, no, it doesn't. So I want to thank James for that, and let's get going on this carburetor. This is the customer who dropped it off. He put it on my trailer and he left the carburetor with the air cleaner off and the carb sitting straight up, and it proceeded to rain that night. So I did air it out, took the plug out, ran it a few times, squirted some oil in there, and I don't think it did any damage, but it's something that you really don't want to do. So all right, let's proceed to take this carburetor off so that we can get it going. And in a lot of cases with these generators, there's bushings inside this plastic housing, so remember that there are reinforcing bushings so you don't crush the housing. Uh-oh. Sorry guys. You've been out of focus and out of where you're supposed to be. Sorry about that. You know what? I'll edit all that out so that you can see what is really going on. Basically what I did, I took off the float bowl. A little bit of rust in there, but not too bad. I'm going to see if I can get away with just cleaning it out while it's on the unit. Is it the best? Nah. But if it's all it needs and the guy was diligent about taking the fuel out and all that, maybe it'll work. So we'll see what happens. Oop. Oh, is this going to be one of these fun ones where the pin doesn't want to come out? Yeah, I think it is. I think Mick had one of these one time where he had a heck of a time getting the pin out. Well, it looks like I'm gonna have to get a little punch and try and punch it out. All right, I have a real teeny punch. It's a little bent, but let's see if it works. Hey, look at that. Perfect. Little punch worked. All right, so a little punch helped. All right, let's take out. Well, pretty rusty needle and seat. Oh boy. I don't know, guys. I think it's going to require me taking it out. You know what? Seeing all that rust in there, I'm going to take it out because there was even rust on the needle, on the rubber part of the needle. So I'm going to take the darn thing apart. So better to take it apart anyway. All right, so let's see what we have to do. This plate, in order to take this plate off, we have to take this plastic cover off first. And if I'm not mistaken, it's a couple of screws from the side. There's one here as well. A couple of hex head bolts. Let's see if those are 10mm. Of course they are. Take those off for this little dash panel. There's one on this side. And what I do is I'll put the screw back in the hole. This knob you should be able to pull off, and there you go. And what I'll do is I'll put the screw back in the hole. That way you don't lose it. So you take a screw out, put it back where it goes. That way you can't lose it. There's another one over here. Okay. So with that off, now you can lay the panel on its side. Now you have the whole governor assembly and everything exposed. Okay. Let me take this screw, put it back where it came from so we don't lose it. Okay. And as I said, there's 3 screws on top. You can't take the carburetor off because this plate is fastened, and with this plate fastened, you have to remove the governor plate in order to get it off. So let me loosen these 3 screws. There's one. There's 2. And one more. And that secures the governor plate to the carburetor plate. Okay. Now that these 3 screws are out, the governor plate is actually free. It's attached to a governor spring, so we'll just lay that on its side right now. And the 3 screws that came out, the 10mm screws, we'll put those in our magnetic tray. And when you have your magnetic tray, group the screws together so you know where they go. Okay, that being off, we've got to take the fuel line off the carburetor. So, we'll do that real quick. Oh, let me get a screwdriver. It's funny, sometimes you're in a pinch, you don't have the right tool, so you figure let me use something else, but it always pays to use the right tool, even if it's as simple as a screwdriver. All right, hose clamp off, fuel line off, there's the fuel line. Okay, now with the fuel line off and the governor disconnected, this plate should come off. Okay, and it does. There's a pin that goes in the top of the throttle link or the choke linkage, but otherwise it comes off. Okay, now the only thing we have to do, the throttle linkage from the governor That is usually on an angle, so we have to pull that off. I can smell the varnish already, people. And then take out the governor spring that's on there. Oh yeah, I could definitely smell the varnish. All right, let's take a look inside. It doesn't look bad, but you know what? I said there wasn't an idle air bleed or idle screw. There is one. It's right here. Good thing I took the carburetor off. I didn't notice that. It is a made in Japan Mikuni. So in other words, it's an expensive carburetor. You've got your main jet here. You've got your idle jet in there, your idle air bleed. You got your idle mixture here. So we'll have to start getting this thing cleaned, and then we'll go from there. I'm going to shut off the video now. I will be back with part 2. All right, talk to you in a bit, guys. All right, I'm back. Carburetor's off. One trick I wanted to show you, and small engine guys use it all the time. The seat, the needle on this, if you noticed, was covered with schmutz and rust and all that. So you want to make sure the seat is good. That's a rubber tip needle, so the seat is going to be metal, usually brass. So we take Q-tips, all right? And you take a Q-tip and you dip it in a little gasoline, and you go in there like this, and you ream it around a little bit. And generally, cleans them out pretty good. All right, you want to get all that varnish out of there, and if you notice, it's pretty clean. So I want to make sure, and if you notice, it's actually a brass insert in there. Make sure you see if I can. There you go. It's a brass insert, and if you notice, the Q-tip cleaned it up really nice. So you want that needle to seat good. So that's what I do. I take a couple of Q-tips. I use old gasoline. I keep old gasoline that's not varnished around. Use a Q-tip. It's almost like you're lapping valves. Just clean it up pretty good. Also, I'm going to put it in the inlet for the fuel because it doesn't look too nice in there, and you can see it's got some rust on it. So I'm going to pull off some of the fibers on this Q-tip, dip it in the fuel, and see if I can get in there. There we go. Clean out that inlet, because that inlet was pretty rusty. Alright, now where is my carb spray? I'm going to spray a little carb spray through here, make sure everything is clean. Okay, alright. I want to make sure that inside where the needle is clean, and also where the fuel inlet in is clean. And now it's clean. Okay, so let's get back to carburetor. Okay, so we know on these, make sure you're in focus. Okay, you got the high-speed jet here. Make sure you use the right size screwdriver, because you don't want to ruin that. You definitely don't want to ruin that. You know what I'm going to do, guys? I don't want to strip it. It looks like it's starting to strip. Let me see if I can grab it. There we go. Yeah, those threads are kind of buggered up, so I didn't want to ruin it. So I'm taking it off with a plier. If you ruin those threads, man, you are dead. You are dead. So let's take that off very carefully so that we can clean it and put it back on. And you definitely want to be careful with that. Yeah, that jet is buggered up. Oh, where is it? There you go. Look at that. All buggered up. Can't see through it. Full of garbage. So we're going to clean that jet. Let's stick it in the gas for now. Now we have to get to the main jet inside. I have another screwdriver I use for that. Let me get it. There's actually two screwdrivers I use for getting out jets, depending on which one fits. Let me try this one first. The trick is not to strip it, because if you strip it, you're gonzo. This is usually a 3/8 24 thread, standard on most carburetors like this. The emulsion tube jet comes out with a screwdriver, then the emulsion tube should pop right out. The problem is when you get varnish in these carburetors and the threads get buggered up, look at all that schmutz on there, guys. It is covered with schmutz. So let's take this off. Wow. It's a single piece emulsion tube, but look at all that. Look at all that junk on there. You can see through that side. You can actually see through it. Can you see through the end? Yeah, you can see through it, but you know what, guys? It is full of garbage. Okay, that's going in the thing too. And let me squirt down here with some cleaner. Yep. Just as I thought, what's coming out is nice and green. So you know it's starting to varnish up in there. So gotta give it a good couple sprays. So we get all that green out of there. Give it a good couple squirts. Let's see. You still in camera? Yeah, you're. Let me see here. Let me get you to zoom out, zoom in. What do we got here? All right. Now, let's give it a little spray, just to clean around that, the rest of it. You know, ultimately, would I like to put it in my ultrasonic and do a pretty bath? Yeah, I would. But at this point, I don't want to take it out. Using parts spray is fine. Okay, now you've got the low speed over here, right there. You want to take that out. Make sure you get the right size screwdriver. And this is the one that always makes the engines hunt. So you want to make sure you're good about cleaning this one. It always makes the engine hunt if it's not right. Okay, this one in here, I'll stick that in the old fuel. Let me squirt a little fuel into it. All right, looks nice and clean down there, so I'm not going to worry about that. Okay, now I'm going to get a little brush so I can brush off those jets and get everything clean. All right, I got a brass brush, so I'm gonna start with the emulsion tube I'm just going to start brushing it off, getting the threads clean, getting everything clean on it. It appears that the holes are all clean, but the outside's got varnish on it, so I want to make sure I get rid of that. I don't want to introduce any more garbage into this thing once it's clean. Give it a little squirt of cleaner. And I'll plug up the end. Okay, it's squirted out of all the orifices. So that's good, that's clean. Okay, now the low speed jet. Where is my wire cleaning tool? Right here. All right, the low speed jet. You got a couple of through holes. Where are you? Oh, right there. A couple through holes. So you want to make sure those are clean. Make sure all your passageways are good. And you have one passageway right on the very end that no one ever cleans because it's so small of a wire. What I do is I take a wire brush like this, and I'll take a strand off of the wire brush because these strands are very small. I'll take a strand off of this. Come on. There we go. Okay. Now that I have a strand of wire from this copper brush, hard for you to see, but very, very fine wire. That wire will go into the end of this low-speed jet, or at least it should. So that's what I use. These this wire is probably a few thousandths. And you should be able to get it into the end of. Alright guys, I'm back. What I wanted to show you, if you notice, I used a micro drill to go in the end of that low-speed jet. It was plugged. Now that micro drill is 13 thousandths diameter, 0.13. So it's a pretty small drill. So a lot of you guys don't have micro drills. Go online. You can get a pin vise and a micro drill really cheap. But now you can see, I could zoom in on it. You can see the drill protruding. See it? Protruding into that orifice. So now you know it's free. So use a micro drill when you're putting these things together, or when you're actually cleaning them. Micro drills are good things. Now that the low-speed jet is cleaned, now that the emulsion tube is clean, I said all the orifices are clean. Everything's clean in there. The only thing left is the jet, and that was super clogged. So there we go. Piece of wire. I usually run it in a little bit on the wire. Run it in along the wire to clean it all off. Make sure it's all nice and clean. Make sure you can see through it very well. And I'll also try and clean any of the schmutz off the end that was in there from the carb bowl. There's a little bit of rust and schmutz in there. I want to make sure that's all cleaned off so it doesn't get back in there and clog it up. Okay, and at this point, we have, where are you? A clean jet, and you can see through it. So we're good. Okay, so it looks as if we have everything here that we need. The only thing left would be the needle seat and the bowl. So the bowl nut has a little bit of crap on it. So we'll give it a little love with the brass brush. And we'll get that cleaned off. Okay, so now we have the nut is clean. Now the bowl, we'll stick it in the old gas, and that should clear up all the varnish and everything on here. Let me get a rag. See, normally guys, when I do my videos, I show you basics and then I just do it so I don't bore you, but everyone said they want to see the boring stuff. So you know what? I'm going to start showing you the boring stuff. Why not? Why not? I'll put a little parts cleaner in here. Oh. That parts cleaner is gone. Old gas works good. So I'm in there with my brush, just getting all that stuff out of there. It's working okay. Just clean it up good. Just want to get all this stuff out of there so it doesn't stick back in there and come back and haunt you. That's all. You want a nice clean carburetor. And a nice clean carburetor bowl. And all the other stuff that goes with that. Alright. So that's all clean. Wipe it out. And then we'll just have to clean the needle, and then we should be all set. Alright. Okay. We're nice and clean in there. Everything is clean. So we will put that aside. The only thing left to do now is the needle and seat. I mean the needle and the float. Now this float is just basically covered with schmutz. So I'm just gonna throw it in the old gas. I'll give it a quick once over with the brass brush. Get some of the caked on stuff off of here. Alright, we'll dry this off. And like I said, I like using old fuel as a solvent because fuel is a great solvent and it won't swell any rubber. Okay. So, seat's good. Only thing left, the needle. And as I showed you before, the needle is, where are you? Over here? Pretty gunked up. So that's why I use gasoline too. It's not going to swell the seat. So I'm going to put it in there. I'll give it a couple of quick wipes. And it's just superficial dirt. So it cleans off pretty easy. So dip it in the gas a couple times. Make sure when you're cleaning the rubber on the seat, you could use a rag and wipe it gently, but don't wipe it too hard. If you wipe that rubber seat too hard, it'll fall off. So give it a nice wipe. Make sure that needle is nice and clean. You don't want any of that junk getting back into the carburetor. So you want to clean it good. Clean it nice and good. Okay. All right. That needle is clean. Ooh, where are you? The needle is now clean. So I'm going to put everything back together. So First things first, the jet, let me put a little wire in here. Okay, we will first, we'll put in the emulsion tube that we've cleaned all out nice and pretty. Where are you? Right there. We'll screw in the emulsion tube. Let me zoom out. Am I zoomed out? Oh, zoomed in, zoomed out. Okay. All right, we're gonna screw in the emulsion tube. And like I said, should I have put it in my ultrasonic and yada, yada, yada? Yeah, best way. But you know what? It's a beautiful day out, 70 some odd degrees. I like working outdoors. Okay, tight but not too tight. You don't want to strip it. Okay, next, the main jet goes in on the side. Let me just wire brush that thread a little bit just to make sure it's a good thread. Okay. Like I said, use the right size screwdrivers. You want to get a good grip, but you don't want to strip anything. Okay. All right, that's in. Now we can do the idle air bleed. Okay. Now we can do the needle and seat. Okay. There's a clip to hold it on. Goes in. Let me get the pin. Stick the pin in. Now there's a flat on the pin. The flat stays out because it's swedged. So when you put the pin in, like I said, the flat, the end with the flat always stays out. And if you want, you just tap it a little bit. Just tap it till it's flush. Okay. All right. That's done. Now we put the bowl back on, and what we want to remember is when this carburetor is on, you want the drain accessible, so put the drain to the side approximately where you're going to have it so you can access it. Okay. Then the bowl nut. And one thing I didn't do on this carb, I didn't pull out the air adjuster screw. I'm going to leave that for now. I never really screw with these, to be honest with you, so I'm just going to leave it. So let me get a wrench. All right, a 1/2 inch to tighten it. Okay. All right. Make sure everything is snug. All right, time to put it back on the generator. All right, let's see. All right, I may run out of battery, guys, but I'm going to do the best I can to get this filmed for you. Okay. All right, so the carburetor is going to go on. The first thing I did, last thing I did, first thing I'm going to do when it comes off, you put on the spring. All right, then you put on the linkage. Okay. Then you put the carburetor onto the studs. Okay, now you have to do your plates. You have your 2 plates. You have a plate that goes on the carburetor first. This pin over here goes on top of the choke shaft. So make sure that goes in there. Once that goes in, a little bit of dirt on this gasket. Let me clean that off. I don't want to put dirt into my carburetor. Okay, so we put that pin in, and we put this on. Okay, then we go to the governor bracket that mounts on top with the 3 screws. And as I told you before, I put the 3 screws in my tray here, and now I'm going to start connecting them back up. And you're actually pulling on the governor spring when you're adjusting or placing this bracket, so don't be concerned. It's supposed to have pressure on it. All right. And there are 3 of these bolts that go on. Let's see, that was the first. The second one goes here. There's number 2. And the last one goes over here. And these are 10mm. And I want to talk to Mr. Condon. Hopefully James is watching this video, because it looks like the adjusters on this to adjust the govern speed are all bent up. And I'll adjust it for the right frequency, RPM, all that stuff. But I just wanted to show you guys, and I'll turn around and show you. The actual adjuster, all the stuff here, if you notice, it's all bent up, James. And I'm wondering if the customer did that or what. So, I don't know. All right, everything's on there, so let me tighten it down. $10mm. Oh, nope, 10mm. What am I saying? It's 10mm. We got 1, 2, 3. That's your governor plate. And now that the governor plate is on, there's a couple things I can do. I'm going to put the air filter box on because the crankcase ventilation hose attaches in the back. I'm going to make sure everything's connected before I try it out. Alright, so the crankcase ventilation hose that goes right in like that. Remember your bushings here. Oh. You've got these reinforcing bushings. I want to make sure they're in. There you go. All right, your reinforcing bushings are in. Oh, let's see. Do we see that on camera? Oh. Let's see. All right, your reinforcing bushings are in, your plate's on. Now you can put on the screws that attach your ear box. Again, 10mm like everything else. And once we tighten these, we should be able to throw some fuel at it and try it out. And those reinforcing bushings keep you from over tightening this and crushing the plastic. Okay, all right, that's all back together. So, tilt her back up. I'm going to put on that plastic dash piece that we see. The screws, like I said, I screwed them back into where they came from, so I'm just going to put them back where they belong. Alright, you got one on this side and one right here. So you stick the handles back through. One there, one here. And like I said, James Condon did this in one of his videos. He was probably a little more eloquent than I am on this thing, as I'm doing it outside and not in my neat shop, but it's okay, as long as the job gets done. Alright, so we tighten that, we tighten that, and we've got a manual choke here. That's open for now, and then we have our RPM adjustment, which is via this lever here. I have the handle for that. Speed adjuster. Okay, so you can adjust the speed. It should have its max hitting this screw. I don't know why it's bent. I'm gonna have to figure that out. So for now, I'm just gonna put it about halfway. I don't want to over rev the engine. Okay, all right. So at this point, the fuel line, I'm going to put some fuel through it to make sure there's no dirt in there. And I have some 2-cycle mix, which is okay for now. Right, fuel is fuel, is that what they say? And I will squirt that through. And see, make sure it comes out okay. It looks like it's coming out okay. Make sure I fill up this whole thing. Okay. All right. Fuel line is good. It's clean. So we're good there. And one thing I'm wondering, I probably want to put a red Briggs filter on the line because I don't know if I trust the fuel tank filter. There is a filter in the tank. It looks like a decent filter in the tank, so I'm not going to go crazy. But at this point, I'm going to connect the fuel line. I'm going to basically just put a little bit of fuel into the system so I can see if it runs before I put the tank on. Fuel line's on. I'm gonna throw some fuel in there and we'll see what happens. Okay, my pseudo gas tank. Squirt bottle. It's filling up because I can see it going down. Make sure we don't have any leaks at the carburetor. When the carburetor's full, it should stop bubbling. Right about there. All right, no more bubbling. Okay. Moment of truth, everybody. We got our gravity system hooked up. We got the carburetor on. We've got no leaks. Let's make sure we have oil, because that would be a shame. And we got it full of oil. Good deal. All right, we got about half throttle. I'll put the choke on. See what happens. Okay, she's running with about half choke, a little less than half choke, so the hunting usually means the jet's too small, the hole's too small, and I can open that up. And the last time I corrected one of these, all it was the idle jet. That one that I opened up to 13 thousandths. The last time I did one that was hunting, I opened it up to 18 thousandths, and that solved it. So I'm going to see if I can do that. So what I'll do right now, guys and girls, I'm going to shut it off for the moment. I'm going to take out that idle speed jet. I'm going to open it up a little like I showed you with that drill, and then hopefully I'll come back and it's not hunting. All right, we'll be back shortly. Okay guys, I think I got it. Carburetor's all done, and I hooked it up to a temporary system to run it. I had drilled out that low speed jet that you see right over there in the middle, reamed that out, or drilled it out to 018. It was 030. Now it's not hunting anymore. I adjusted the RPM. You got the two stop screws right there to adjust the RPM. So you, according to Mr. Condon, he said around 61 hertz. 61 hertz under no load. So I did that, and I have my kilowatt meter hooked up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start it for you. You'll see once in a while it'll give it a little bit of a blurp. That's because I have it on this tank here. There's no vent. So when it blurps, you know, the fuel's going back into the tank. But let me show you real quick. It's running good. It'll stop doing that little blurp when I put the tank back on, because right now there's no vent. So, you know, without a vent, it caused it to do that. But I just wanted to tell Mr. Condon there, James, that these adjusting screws were all messed up. This thing was running at 70 hertz, 150 some odd volts. So I bent back the brackets. For some reason, the brackets were all bent up. So I bent them back. I put both in the right position, so I'm at 61 hertz, no load. I'm going to put it back to the customer. And I just want to say thanks to James for your advice, because that helped on the repair of this. And hopefully you guys got something out of it. If you want to see it done a little cleaner on this generator, you can go see James Condon's video. But, you know, real time, this is what this stuff takes. I just wanted to show you. All right, guys, we'll talk to you soon. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye. Okay, this should be it, guys. Generator's running good. I got the air filter on it and everything. It's not hunting at all. It's perfect. I got the gas tank on it. Everything's running great. Just got to change the oil. Just wanted to show you my oil change apparatus. I use a Holt brand extractor. It's a hand pump vacuum extractor. Very easy to use. Very, very simple to use. Basically, you take off your oil fill plug. You stick in your hose and you proceed to pump. You see the oil coming up. There it goes. You hear it? I love it. Very simple. Just pump it by hand. It literally takes seconds to change your oil. Just wanted to show you guys that. Very simple. These are about $60, $70 with a coupon at Harbor Freight. I do recommend them. So that'll be the end of this video. Like I said, this generator is running great. Everything's showing good on the meter. I adjusted it to 61 hertz with no load. And I'm going to call the customer up and hopefully get paid, and we'll call it a day. All right, guys. Been a long one, but hopefully you guys, you know, had some entertainment, got to learn something. Questions, comments, suggestions, put them in the comments down below. As always, thanks for watching. We'll talk to you soon.